Hello class! Welcome to Notes 2.5 Multiplying Fractions, California Standards NS 1.2 and AF 1.3. Don't forget to write down the title and the standards. Okay, today's objective obviously is to multiply fractions and mixed numbers, which again is review. However, we are going to be adding in a lot of negatives, which make it very tricky, so I want you to be careful. One vocab word for today is the multiplicative inverse. The reciprocal of a number, the multiple inverses cancel each other out. So if you have 2 over 1 times 1 over 2, they will cancel out and simply be 1. For our rules, multiplying fractions, you multiply the numerators and denominators separately and then simplify. So let's go ahead and begin. Okay, teacher example 1, pencils down. We have negative 3/4 times negative 5/7. Again, we multiply the numerators separately. I always put the negative in with the numerator because that is typically how it's written, and it's easiest to keep yourself organized. So I'm going to multiply negative 3 times negative 5 and 4 times 7. Go ahead and multiply those two together, and we're left with 15 over 28. The answer is in lowest terms. There's nothing left to do, so that is your final answer. Problem B, there are two ways of solving this. I'm going to show you first kind of the traditional way, just like we did the problem before. Multiplying the numerators, multiplying the denominators. You'll end up with negative 18 over 30. And then you can simplify by dividing both of them by the same number. In this case, that number is 6, and you end up with negative 3/5. The other option that you have is to cross cancel. 9 and 3 cancel out and become 3 and 1. Negative 2 and 10 cancel out and become negative 1 and 5. Now, negative 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5. Again, you got the same answer, so it doesn't matter which way you prefer. The advantage to this method by cross-canceling is that you're less likely to make a mistake at the end. A lot of times what students do is they don't realize the final answer can be simplified, and they, for example, leave this answer here instead of simplifying it all the way. So cross-canceling makes it easier so you don't make a mistake. Also, it means that you're multiplying with smaller numbers, which tends to be a lot easier. Okay, let's take a look at teacher example 2. What is the value of 7/12, 3/5, and 12/7? Now we have three numbers here. We're going to continue the same way, multiplying all the numerators, 7, 3, and 12, and all the denominators, 12, 5, and 7. If you take a look here, notice there's a 12 and a 12 here, a 7 and a 7 here. So when I cross multiply, and notice I move them so they're next to each other to make it easier, all I'm left with is 3/5. Be careful, our answer is not 3/5, however. You want to see the multiple choice answer, which in this case would be the answer of D. Okay, let's go ahead and have you try this out on your own. Take a look at student practice 1 and 2. There are 6 problems here. Please try them out on your own. When you are ready, press play to see the answers. Okay, starting with problem number 1. Multiplying the numerators, 11 and 18, and the denominators, 12, and then the other denominator here would be 1, since 18 doesn't have one. Notice we can cross-cancel the 18 and the 12. They're both divisible by 6. We end up with 3 and 2. 11 times 3 is 33. 2 times 1 is 2. Notice my fraction is improper, so I must turn it into a mixed number, 16 and 1/2. Problem number 2. Negative 4 times 5 and 5 times 6. Notice I have a 5 in the numerator and denominator. They can cancel out. The negative 4 and the 6 are also both divisible by 2, so this becomes negative 2 and 3. Now it's nice and easy. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And there you go. Problem number 6, again, this is a whole number, so we need to write it as a fraction, as negative 6 over 1. And mixed numbers, you need to turn them into an improper fraction first before you can work with them. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. I can cross-cancel the negative 6 and the 3, and I end up with 2 over 1. Now I can simply multiply my numerators. Notice the denominators, 1 times 1 is just going to be 1. I don't need that. So my final answer would simply be negative 28. Okay, problem number 4. Again, we have our mixed numbers. We need to turn them into improper fractions. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Notice I have a 3 in the numerator and denominator. I can cross-cancel them. I end up with 7 over 2, which of course is improper, must be simplified. 2 goes into 7 3 times, with 1 left over, 3 1/2. Coming down to problem number 5. Again, this fraction is great the way it is. This one needs to be made improper. 10 times 3 is 30, plus 1 is 31, so negative 31 tenths. The 5 and the 10 cancel out, becoming negative 1 and 2. And now I can multiply. Notice I've got two negatives. My socks match. So it'll be positive 31 over 16. My answer is improper. I must simplify. 16 goes into 31 one time, with 15 left over, 15/16. Number 6, multiply my numerators, 1, 3, and 5. Denominators, 5 and 8. Notice I can cross-cancel my 5s. I can also cross-cancel these 1s. You really don't need to, because the 1s aren't important in multiplication because they're not going to do anything. So if you didn't write them, that would be fine as well, as long as it's only multiplication that you're working with. So all that's left is the 3 and the 8. Okay, let's take a look at an example using variables. Evaluate x, y squared when x is negative 3/8 and y is negative 5/6. First, of course, I need to plug in my numbers, substitute my values. Notice y is squared, so I need to square that number. Another way I can do this is simply write it twice. Same thing. 5 times 5 is the same thing as writing 25. 6 times 6 is the same as writing 36. Okay, my numerator is on the top, denominator is on the bottom. I'm looking for things to cross-cancel. If I can cross-cancel anything, I want to do so. Notice I have the 3 and the 6 here, so I can cross-cancel there. And I end up with negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. Notice when I cross-cancel the 3 and the 6, the 3 stayed negative, so it would become negative 1, and the 6 becomes 2. 8 times 2 times 6 is 96. Okay, so let's go ahead and have you try a student practice here. Try these two out, see how you do, plug in your variables, and solve. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you have the 5 in the numerator. The numerator for the x is negative 1 and the y is negative 5. In the denominator you should have 9, 2, and 6. Notice there's nothing to cross-cancel. I do have two negatives, so I know those negatives are going to cancel out, become 25. My numerators, again, since there was nothing to cross-cancel, I simply multiply across, and I end up with 25 over 108. Number 8, a little trickier because that x value is squared. So that means negative 1/2 squared, which is the same thing as saying negative 1 squared and 2 squared. Either way you look at it. So when I square those numbers, negative 1 squared is simply 1, negative 1 times negative 1, and 2 squared is 4. There is nothing to cross-cancel, so 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, do be careful of those negatives. I know that we've worked with fractions for years. The negatives part, however, will cause you to make a mistake, so really think that through, especially when you get to quiz 2.5. Problem number 1, negative 3/4 times negative 2/9. Problem number 2, 4/3 times 3/5 times 1/2. And problem number 3, 2/5 times 1 and 1/5 times negative 4 and 7/12. Go ahead and solve, put your answers in Schoology, and have a great day.